Hey everybody, good morning. This is Erin Knight with Engineering Radiance here with a special guest, Dr. Jolene Brighton. Hi, Jolene.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks for coming on. Dr. Brighton, if you don't know, is a naturopathic physician and expert on female hormones and author of an upcoming book coming out in January called Beyond the Pill. And I'm really excited that you came on to talk with us today because this is such an issue for the migraine community. And it was part of my story too. You know, you have migraine headaches, even hormonal headaches, you go into the doctor, and the first thing they want to do for you is give you the pill, as if that's just like the only solution, the magic solution to fix that. And you know, I was on it for a decade before I realized what it was doing to my body. And then even then, that's kind of the point where I talk to a lot of people. They're starting to realize that it's not that helpful, that there are side effects and things like that. But then it's scary to get off of it too,
Mhm.
because there's like the adjustment period and things like that. So I think your work is, much needed. This isn't, and there's not been a definitive guide for people who want to get off the pill and like what to do next and things like that. So I'm really grateful for all the effort you've put into the book and becoming an expert on this topic. So thanks for coming on to talk with us today. I know we had some people here live earlier. Hopefully they'll be joining us again soon. But if you're watching live and you have questions, by all means, jump in and ask. But our first question is, why is the pill not necessarily the best answer for migraine headaches and hormonal migraines and things like that?
Yeah, well, it's such a great question, and I actually never had migraines. There's no family history of migraines until I started the pill, and then that actually triggered migraines. And at that point, then I had to do Imitrex and nasal spray, and talking with pharmacists, they'll tell you like once a woman's like the first time she fills that birth control prescription, it's just a matter of time till she's in there with the next prescription. And so sometimes that'll be thyroid medication, sometimes it's migraine medication, and sometimes it's acid reflux medication. So excuse me, I'm getting over a cold here. So and I was out walking all day today. I'm in Paris. It's like it was 37 degrees outside today, which is fun. I like the cold weather. So with that in mind, I think you hit the nail on the head. In fact, that anything that's considered a female problem gets past hormonal birth control, and that's why I wrote the book Beyond the Pill, because I knew women can always go and have that option, but I wanted to give them solutions beyond the pill. And when I'm saying the pill, understand that like the IUD, the patch, the ring, like the shot, any of these hormonal contraceptives, these have the same side effects. That's always like the top question I get is like, is this only related to the pill? And I'm like, wouldn't that be nice? But no.
And there's the kind of conception like maybe some of them have less hormones in them, so they're less harsh on your body. Is that true, or are they really like having the same effects?
Well, what's interesting about that is if we view it through the lens of breast cancer risk. So that was the big thing that conventional docs were telling the story that like the new pill had lower dose of hormones, therefore it had lower risk of breast cancer, other cancers, and other side effects. As it turned out, they told that story for a long time without ever having any evidence of that. And then as it turned out, they have the same exact risk. And well, I will say, like, when we get to the IUDs, like, Mirena has the highest dose of progestin. Those progestins are a big problem for us. Our natural progesterone is an antidiuretic, and progestin it doesn't have that same effect. And in fact, it's been shown to have neurological effects. And so we'll see anxiety, depression, increase in suicide among young girls when they start that. And then there's things like Kyleena, Skyla, they're lower in progestin, but I still see, I still see women react to it. And the question we need to be asking is, I don't think it is, we can't say causation when it comes to
Mhm.
mood symptoms, but at this day and age, I'm just like, I don't think it's a question that these come with side effects. Instead, the question, instead of being like, oh, well, is there evidence to like prove what a woman is saying about her body? I think instead we need to start asking the question of like, well, who is it true for? Like, who is at higher risk? Now, to your point about, migraines, well, migraines have a root cause, and it isn't that you are missing synthetic estrogen or progestin. Like, that's not the cause. And what gets downright scary is that if you have a migraine with an aura, so you're seeing flashes of lights, it's like you are at a Pink Floyd concert and you're like having a headache. With that, that's a contraindication to being on hormonal birth control because it's a higher risk of having a stroke. And while we know this, and we've known this for a very long time, there's many studies, I still have patients who come to me and their doctor has prescribed them the pill or given them the patch or the NuvaRing, something along those lines for a migraine with aura. And then we measure labs and I'm like, well, you are at a high stroke risk. Like, this is not okay. Like, you can't be using that. But, it really comes down to what's the root cause. And, for example, hormonal birth control is not a root cause resolution. Now, some women, they need to use it and they're like, this is what I feel is best for me, which is what, I very much believe in supporting them. But for example, you might have migraines due to hypothyroidism. Like, it could be a thyroid adrenal disorder and you're put on hormonal birth control. Now you have regular periods. They're not real periods. And your doctor's like, well, your lady problems are fixed. But never mind, you just left this woman with hypothyroidism to have her disease progress. Now her hair's falling out. There's all these other, okay, we got another drug for that, another drug for that. And really, all of these doctors, they got into this to support women, to try to help women. It's just that their toolkit is super limited. And women are waking up. We're seeing, I think the millennial generation is just really popping open all of our eyes. They're rejecting hormonal contraceptives at such a high rate. And, I for one think that it's very much because they've watched what so many other women have gone through and they've seen the generations before them. And they're like, well, it didn't actually fix my mom's problems or my aunt's problems or anyone else's problems. And in fact, we often are just trading symptoms. So it's like, some women, it does help their headaches. Now their libido's gone. By the way, orgasms, releasing oxytocin, really good for migraines, really good for headaches. And so it's something that, like, I'm not anti-birth control, but I'm very much like, this should be the woman's decision. Like, she should make the decision as to if this is best for her or not. Does she want to just manage symptoms? That's her choice. Or does she want a root cause resolution? She should have access to that.
Yeah, it's kind of missing the point, like you said, with the root cause resolution. It's like, it might help. And I think it did help me have less hormonal migraines. But then what else was it doing to my gut? What was it doing to my nutrient status and things like that for years and years and years?
Yeah,
I wasn't signing up for that part. No one,
totally. And how many women have migraines because they're magnesium deficient? Like, in my practice, we'll use, so I have a Magnesium Plus product, which is magnesium bisglycinate, highly absorbable. Don't do citrate, you guys, because this is something that, like, and the patients, and they're like, well, I know you said to use this magnesium at 600 milligrams with the onset of a migraine. I had magnesium citrate, so I did that. And I'm like, and then you had a migraine, you wanted to throw up, and you were pooping nonstop. And they're like, how did you know? Well, because the other thing that's going on with hormonal headaches is that there's often a concomitant elevation in prostaglandins, and prostaglandins can cause spasms and contractions. And so that is already like, your period's coming, you're having cramps, you're having migraines, and your body already wants to poop more. Then you take magnesium citrate, it's just like, now we're just never going to stop pooping, and we feel awful. So we use magnesium bisglycinate, that particular form. There's other forms as well that you can use. Just don't use the citrate. But with that, 600 milligrams at the onset of a migraine can help some women be able to avoid a migraine. And then, we typically have women on 300 milligrams going, throughout the month. So they're doing that nightly. And if it's a situation where it's like, always get a migraine the week before my period, we double that. So, we do 300 in the morning, 300 at night to try to, get rid of those cramps, to replenish the stores that the body needs. Now, magnesium is depleted by hormonal birth control. And that's why some women they'll start hormonal birth control and they're like, yeah, that kind of helps because they weren't getting the peaks and the troughs of estrogen fluctuating. And then they're like, but then my migraines came back. Then, like, things started getting a lot worse. And, you start asking them, they're like, yeah, I was having some period cramps and also muscle cramps and aches. And it's like, well, hormonal birth control is depleting your magnesium. And so in that way, just looking at that piece, we can see that, like, we can become dependent, almost addicted to this pharmaceutical because it's creating these depletions. And that's just one example of what it's doing in your body that can lead you to feeling like, okay, if I get off of this, it's going to be way worse.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't just, unfortunately, stop it and then everything's great again, right?
That would be great, right?
How long? Yeah, unfortunately, I know. How long can, like, if you're not doing anything to help and support your body, how long would it take? And then, like, if you're doing all the right things and, following advice in your book and things like that, how can that shorten that period?
Yeah, so I talk about this in Beyond the Pill, my book, where I say, if you've got on hormonal birth control for symptoms, or you ever came off of it and then you had major symptoms and you got back on, that drives a lot of women to get back on, you need to prep your body at least 3 months, if not 6 months before coming off. And the 6 months is really, when we go beyond the 3 months, it's usually endometriosis women who also can suffer from chronic headaches as well. Now, with endometriosis women, we've got to do a lot more work so that they're not in the worst pain of their life when they come off. But otherwise, I recommend that women prepare their body for a good 3 months and then transition off. And one of the key things is replenish nutrient stores. So you're either taking a multivitamin or you're taking a prenatal with that, and then begin the transition off. And that's all to avoid post-birth control syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you come off, you're like, I'm already off and I'm like suffering. There's lots of things that you can do. And in fact, in Beyond the Pill, I have a whole section where I talk about hormonal headaches and migraines and using things like magnesium and B2 and the herb feverfew and things that are very much about symptom resolution. But the reality is that you can't, like, what does it take to live a healthy life and to make headaches gone for good? It really takes cooking your own meals, like being your own health detective, tracking these things, exercise, all these things that take energy and effort that you cannot do when you have a wicked splitting headache. And so with that, very much in my book, I'm like, we have to have some short-term solutions and then some long-term solutions, because we've got to get you out of the acute so that you can do what it takes to not have to get on hormonal birth control just to manage your symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So if you're not off of it yet, there's things you can do now,
Yeah,
to make the transition easier. But if you already stopped like earlier this last year and are still, you still very well may be having some after effects, then there's things you can do to manage that, and then also get on the track for recovering completely. And that's what your book is about.
Yeah. My book is about, like, okay, so we need to have the full story. Like, what does hormonal birth control pills and all these hormones do? How can you protect your body if you want to stay on it? How can you transition off successfully without having your skin explode, crushing headaches, like developing gut symptoms, like everything that comes with post-birth control syndrome? And, if you already have post-birth control syndrome, how can we reverse those? It's really, when your hormones are working for you, you have superpowers. They are like superpowers in themselves. And so the book is really aimed at helping women understand their body, understand their hormones, and then be able to troubleshoot that. So if you are having symptoms, like, what does that mean? What is that symptom? What's that your body trying to tell you? What things should your doctor test? What should they be investigating? And what can you do in the meantime while you wait for those lab tests to come back?
Yeah, it's so empowering to like be in the driver's seat and really understand, instead of, I think, without that information, there's like this fear of like, I don't want to stop because it could be worse than what I'm going through now. But what am I doing to my body? There's like so much fear. But like, if you know what to do, it's all very doable, with a little bit of effort and knowledge and things like that. So I love that you've, put this together. So it's not out yet, right? January 29th?
January 29th. Yeah, right now it is available for pre-sale. You can grab it. And then if you go to beyondthepillbook.com, I've got a bunch of bonuses for women. So with that, it's like, let's just jumpstart that. So if you want to pre-order the book, we're going to send you recipe guides. We're going to send you over like how to clean up your cosmetics. Those are a common cause of hormone imbalance. We also have a 5 video series bonus where I'm interviewing other experts who things I didn't talk about in Beyond the Pill. So we have an Escher expert, for example, talking about the Escher method, which is, we did the video for this Escher method before the FDA stepped in and was like, this is a bad idea. But I was like, we have to get this information out there because it's basically exploding shrapnel in some women's pelvises. That's a bad thing. We need to talk about it because if you're having symptoms, you need to investigate that. And now the FDA is like, oh yeah, no more of that Escher.
Great. Okay. Well, it sounds like people definitely want to grab the bonuses and get on the list. They don't, you know, can get excited about the book to come out. So we'll put that link in the comments below this video. So if you can go sign up now, get the downloads and the videos and things like that. And I just want to thank you again for sharing this with us, sharing your knowledge and your expertise of working with so many people and helping them recover their health. So hopefully if you're listening, this has helped you and given you a new tool, a new resource to like really understand your health and have other options too. So thank you so much and talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate